Right, welcome everyone. Welcome to this next episode of our podcast, and I'm joined today by the amazing Mr. Colin Taylor. Welcome, Colin.
Hello,
How are
how are
you?
you?
Oh, very good, very good. It's been 5 years trying to catch up with you.
I know I have to apologise and let everybody know, but I did have a podcast arranged with you, and I totally forgot. And I never know. I'm normally really good about this kind of stuff, but yeah, it just totally slipped my mind.
Not a problem, not a problem. Never offended, don't worry.
Oh well, I appreciate that.
We're here now. We're here now. How's it?
Absolutely.
So, like I said to you earlier, we've just finished your conference. That was a few weekends ago. How are you? You all recovered from that? How's it been?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it pretty much runs very smoothly because of when you got people like Mel, which I'm so happy she came back
Yeah.
this year, who was doing she's like the ringleader. She takes care of all the Q&A. She goes back and forth from each stylist and asks some questions, so it keeps it really smooth. And we gave away so many giveaways to the audience, and they were a great audience too because they really engaged. They were asking lots of questions. The gala dinner is always the it's just the one thing that stresses me out, and that's why we're going to change things up for next year. But all in all, it was amazing.
The dinner and stuff is kind of out of your hands, isn't it? You entrust that to the hotel,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
it's down to them. It's down to them, isn't it?
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, that's enough said about that. The audience, I could hear them because I had my stand there, and I could hear them like cheering and whooping and asking questions. And you're right, it's so important to come along to these things and be open-minded, and be confident in putting your hand up and asking the burning questions that you have in your mind.
Absolutely. And and there was a lot of lone groomers there, and it's really important for me to know them and to find out who they are, which is not easy, which I'm going to change for next year also.
Mm.
So everybody's going to have a lanyard around their neck, which tells me and the staff which package they've got and if they're a lone groomer and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, and get them engaged. Where we did pass the parcel, which was a lot of fun. We played pump up the jam, and they all got to pass this thing around, and you see the people holding on to the parcel the longest to see if they win it. And it's just fun. Like it's just silly little things like that, which kind of helps get the people going, and makes them ask questions where they know they're going to get a gift. They will ask questions.
Yeah, and I like the fact this year you brought all the trade stands in to do a little segment on introducing themselves. Because again, when we're sitting on our trade stands and people are wandering past, there can often be a little bit of a barrier, and maybe people want to speak to someone about scissors, or they want to speak to someone about blasters, but they're not quite sure or confident enough to approach them. So it's nice to break down that barrier as well with the traders.
Well, and also, the traders play a big vital part in it. When it comes to any show, or whether it be a grooming show or the conference or whatever it may be, you know what? There, a lot of people do ask what traders are coming. That they want to know who's coming. We've seen a really big decline in traders. Well, actually, floor traffic, which means traders also, because they both go hand in hand. And
Mm.
we need to get it, hopefully, back to where it used to be, where more traders come and more floor traffic comes. So, and also to get the traders involved in the conference to explain who they are and what they're about. And when it comes to what you do, and insurance, and online systems, and credit card machine people, I think it kind of sometimes intimidates groomers because
Mm.
we're creative people. So we're like, oh my god, that means we're going to be responsible and grown ups, and I get that because I'm that way too. I hate the end of the year with taxes and all that, and I have a meeting with my accountant next month because with all the changes next year with
Yeah.
how it's going to be. So I think it's important for groomers to understand, but you guys are really, really important that we have you talk to the people, have them talk to you, find out how they can make more money, find out what a difference a credit card machine makes in your business.
Mm. Yeah, do you think it's the online space that has kind of seen a decline in traders sort of going to these events?
Yeah, you know what? There is. Well, I think when you look at it from the get go, let's talk about the floor traffic. When you think about how much availability there is online for people to learn, for
Mm,
people not to leave their houses, for people not wanting to leave their houses, maybe whether it be through mental health or anxiety, or just being able to not being able to afford it.
mm,
And then with that problem, there comes a problem of traders. I mean, I went to a trade show this year, and I made £12, and the only reason why I made £12 was because one of my ambassadors bought something from me, and then she got her discount. So I'm like, really? I was like, are you kidding me? But saying that, there are the good and the bad. Sometimes I go to a show and I do really good, but it's also about being present and being there, because if you don't
yeah.
go, people forget you.
That's it. And I have that, I suppose in a nice way, I don't go to these trade shows and then think, well, how many sales have I made? Trade shows for me is not about sales at all because, it's for me to get to know people. And trade shows always humble me a bit because people come up to me and like, who are you? And I'm like, oh my God, you've not heard of me, sort of thing. Do you not listen to the podcast? Are you not part of the Facebook group? But
Uh-huh.
it always humbles me. It always makes me think, right, I'm not doing enough to get out there. I need to do more to get out there, sort of thing. So it's always really nice when I say to people, they come up to my stand and I talk to them about their business and I say to them, are you listening to the podcast? They're like, no, what podcast? I'm like, oh my God, so it's
Yeah.
always like you said, it's really nice just to get out there and speak to people and spread the word and get them into my world and get them into your world and so they can start experiencing the products and the services that we provide. So it is important.
Well, yeah, and that's is so true, because I mean, when people say to me, and you know what, you feel like I feel like sometimes I bombard the internet with advertisements and stuff like that, and then somebody says to me, "The conference, I didn't know, I had no clue about the conference." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
I know.
But it just goes to show, it makes me wonder, what's more engaging, a live video or an ad, a moving ad or a still ad? There's all these questions I ask myself, and things I'm still learning
Mm.
when it comes to certain things. So it is interesting, and I sometimes wonder how on earth we managed back in the day when there was the Yellow Pages, or how we got the word out there, but there was a conference, or what you're doing with the podcast, and so I do love social media. I have a love-hate relationship with it.
Mm.
I think right now it's full of just nastiness, and it makes it so easy for people to be negative and to go on to the attack, not because necessarily they are that person. It's because I think sometimes with other things it just makes everything okay to be that way, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, you can kind of hide behind the keyboard in a way,
Oh,
doesn't
of course you can,
it?
absolutely.
Definitely. And I think this is a question that a lot of people, small businesses are going through is like, how do I reach my audience? And I've just written a small article for Total Grooming magazine, answering those kind of questions because it is ever evolving, isn't it? It's always evolving and always trying to understand like what's the next Facebook or what's the next, social media platform we need to be on. And it's tiring.
Well, it is, and my brain, I'm not old. I'm 50. To some people I'm ancient, but I'm 56, and you know, I um, I live a really kind of boring life probably, and I think a lot. So I mean, we did an idea when I first moved back to England many years ago, and unfortunately, then Facebook came in and it totally made my idea not just done. But
Mm.
I think it will be play a really good part today, because I think people are tired, and we see different platforms come and go, and but I know sometimes I feel like, but is it TikTok now? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? I think all three of them play a very different game and cater to a very different audience.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get my head around it, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, what the hell do I do? What do I do to get the word out about a new brush or a new comb or something I'm doing? And I guess I just have to try and keep up with the Joneses, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, and just keep, yeah. I kind of have a motto, which I don't think is always very helpful, and it can feel a bit overwhelming. But my kind of motto is, when it comes to marketing, and we've done it for our grooming business, and I do it for myself, is like everywhere for everyone, which is like, oh my God, Bill, this is like that's massive, isn't it? But we can't judge people by our own standards. So I love a bit of Facebook, but I'm not too keen on TikTok. But that means I don't put all my eggs just in Facebook. I need to be have a presence on TikTok as well for the people that love TikTok but don't like Facebook. So, it's kind of catering for everyone, and everyone's going to have a different journey to find you, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, I watch TikTok for the crazy. I watch it for. I'm following a guy right now who's a flat earther, and
Yeah.
who believes that like Marilyn Monroe, he believes that Marilyn Monroe is also Andy Warhol, and even though it's crazy, I love it because you know what? It makes my life. I'm like, I'm sitting there with my friend from America. I'm like, what on earth is this guy on about? And then you think, could you imagine if he was actually right and we were
So,
all wrong? I mean, that would be the funniest. So, yeah, I think when it comes to TikTok, I watch it for people unboxing the boo boos and watching this guy,
mm,
and I try and get my head around it. I watch a lot of the groomers on there, but I think they do an incredible job putting themselves out there. And then I go onto Facebook to do my ads, and then Instagram, which you know, my Facebook was hacked on 2nd of May, so I don't have a Colin Taylor personal Facebook, which I kind of like. However, I work really hard on that Facebook page,
yeah.
and it's gone, just gone. So I still have Colin Taylor products and Master Groom and the conference, and also I go under Coleman. So I'm using Coleman's. I've hijacked his page, and now he's got a bunch of groomers on there.
So maybe I think this is a good place to actually stop here and sort of just say, well, so what are your sort of main products? What your services that you offer? Because do you groom anymore? Do you still run any grooming salons or anything like that?
No, so I don't run any grooming salons. I teach once a week at Leslie Garrett School in
Right.
Evercreech. I do my seminars, and so I probably groom in reality a dog, maybe 3 or 4 dogs a year, and I'm seeing big improvements though in them. I'm like, it's really weird because I used to be a really serious competitor in the states, and I mean, I could scissor a dog. There's no doubt. My scissoring skills were amazing, and I learned from some of the best in the world. And then you don't groom anymore, and you go into selling products, which I do now. My main focus is selling products and education, and also master groom in the conference. But obviously, then I do my seminars, and I teach pet groomers how to groom pet dogs because I'm all about people making the money in the real, in the actual big picture, the real picture, which is pet grooming.
Yeah.
And also, and it's about confidence. So I want to build people's confidences up. I want them to not take it so seriously. I want them to understand that every single day they're going to see improvements, and in their eyes they might not see it, but it naturally is occurring.
Mm.
I think in most professions, and I think in most creative professions, they say you become confident after about 22 months. So I tell people it's okay. You will feel these feelings. It's totally normal, and you have to instead of looking at all the negatives and saying my work's shit, you have to look at it positive and say, okay, it may not be how it want it to be right now, but let's look at the positives and what I've done better than what I've done before.
That's it. I was speaking to a groomer just this week actually, and she'd been grooming for 8 years, having had a break, and we were talking about pricing and how she didn't feel confident to put her prices up, and she's like, I just don't know if I'm worth like if my grooms are worth it, if I'm good enough, sort of thing. And I'm like, you've sat here and told me that you're full. You've got customers returning to you 8 years they've been coming to you. It's like
Uh-huh.
you are good enough. You are,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
smashing it. These people love you, and we
yeah.
did a little teary moment, a little cry to get, where it was like coming to that realization and understanding that actually You are good enough, and I also help. I also try and highlight to people. I don't know if you feel the same, but the haircut is obviously one part of the process. But actually, to be the great bit about the business is the customer service and the happy
Hmm.
dog and the
Yeah,
happy customer sort of thing.
yeah.
So it's
Oh,
not always about the haircut, is it?
you know what? I remember, always being taught when it comes to grooming dogs, the actual groom is probably 30% or 40% of the actual overall experience. And I remember working for Wagon Tails in America, and me and the girls, because we had CBs in all the vans, so we could talk back and forth. And me and the girls would have races and find out, who we can get the best tips and make the most money. And you know what? I was the best groomer out of everybody. However, Kelly was the big bubbly blonde, pretty blonde, and she had the personality, and she
Yeah.
got the most tips, and she got the most callbacks. So when people say you'll look at the book and it will have Colin do or Kelly do, that means that they requested that particular person. And I preach it to this day. You can be the best groomer in the world, but if you don't have a personality to match that groom,
Mm.
you are your business may not do well, and you can be an average groomer, and with the best customer service, and it'll be amazing how well you can do. And I think people need to understand, but the everyday client who's coming in, they want to make sure that their little fluffy is going to be taken care of. And if you make them feel that they are comfortable at leaving little Fluffy, and you've given that dog love and care and the utmost respect and the welfare and all that kind of stuff, you know what? You will be absolutely fine. The haircut, and I hate to say this because it's what I teach for a living, it's what I've been doing for 40 years, but the haircut is secondary.
Yeah, it's all part of the bigger picture, isn't it? And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, I try and bring people back to kind of like back to basics, but back to good old customer service.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
what people really appreciate.
Absolutely, and and I think you have to, you really have to, look at the big picture, and you got to, when I'm teaching new people, and I'm like, you know what, we are the only people that judge a dog through a haircut.
Mm.
Nobody else does. We look at a dog walking down the street, we judge it immediately if we haven't done it, and at the end of the day, that person's walking down the street with that dog, and they look very happy, and they don't care. They want cute, clean, short bum, short around the eyes, easy to manage. And I think that's what we need to be focusing on when it comes to client care, is finding out about how they live so we can match their haircut to that lifestyle.
Yeah, I remember. I thinking. It reminds me of the notes that we make on the dogs that Emma's groomed before, and it's like neat feet, short all over. Understand, like you said, understanding the client and actually, is this dog going to go and jump in the big smelly pond when it gets out of here? And
Yeah,
does it live on the sofa? Does it live on the bed? Do they just want nice, easy managed dog care?
yeah, yeah. And I think the reality, people will buy a dog. Let's just say a cockapoo, and I absolutely love them. I don't like people who put them down because they are a dog. They make us a lot of money. But I'm using that dog as an example. The client wishes and they would love to have a fluffy dog, but the reality is, and they soon understand it, but the reality of having that fluffy dog isn't benefiting the dog or them. So if you look at dogs walking down the street today, you normally see a dark blue snap-on comb all over with a cute face and tail, and that's okay. And we have to understand, but grooming a dog is just that. You're grooming a dog. No matter how you groom it, whether it's a fancy show trim or a shave off, you're still grooming it. And believe me, when people say a shave off is easy, I've seen some pretty shabby shave offs walking around, and it's normally done by the owner themselves, not done by a professional groomer. And including Jigsaw, my dog, towards his last few years, because he hated being groomed, and I used to get the 7F wide out, shave him off as quickly as possible, and he looked like hell. But you know what? I didn't care. That was my dog. I didn't judge my dog as through a haircut.
Mm. So. obviously we're very associating yourself with like with dog grooming. I just wondered if you had any interest in cat grooming. Is that something that you've ever looked at or
Oh,
experienced or done
yeah.
yourself, or you're a proper like I don't do cats?
No, I actually had, when I was a kid, when I was 15 or 14, I had a show cat called Jasper. He was a cream Persian. And I love cats, but then I became very allergic to cats to a
Right.
point where I could not breathe. It was like literally you had to get like a one of them
Inhalers.
yeah, inhalers. I do love cats, and actually, we have a cat. That's all we have right now. A cat called Jasper, who is a he found Coleman actually in the garden. Coleman was in the garden. Jasper showed up one day, sat on Coleman's lap, and wouldn't leave his lap. And then that's when we found out that Coleman had testicle cancer. I can't even say the
All right.
what. Yeah, that's the right word. And when we got Jasper, he was like 16 years old. He's like 19, 18 or 19 now. So we actually ended up keeping him. We found the owner. The owner took him. Jasper came back about 2.5 miles, came back 2 days later. And he wouldn't leave us. And so I called up the owner and explained the owner the story with Jasper and Coleman. And I asked him if we can keep him. And he goes, absolutely, you can keep him. So we switched over the microchip into our name. And I said, I'm not going to love this cat. I'm not going to love this cat. I'm not going to love him. And I absolutely adore him. He is he is a piece of work. He tolerates me when he wants feeding or when he wants in. The garden is his kingdom. The other day, I was actually talking on another live with a friend, and I said to Coleman, Jasper's coming up the garden with a big ass rat in his mouth, and but he's a great hunter, and yeah, so that's what we have. We have Jasper.
Nice, nice. And
Yeah.
what have you obviously you're allergic, but have you watched a cat being groomed? Have you seen like what the sort of what it's about?
Yeah, I think cat grooming is huge money. I mean, when you talk to, I don't know if you've done a podcast with Heidi yet in London.
Yeah.
She has Absolutely Animals, and
Mm,
she has a shop 4 doors down from Absolutely Animals, which is only cat grooming.
mm,
There's people out there which are, and I think it depends on what area you're in. Obviously, if you're in a big built-up area with cats what live indoors, people want to have them groomed more so they can deal with the coats and the dander and any problems with maybe somebody has with allergies. But I think to me, cats are a two-person job, sometimes a one-person.
yeah.
But you know what? If I did go back into grooming today, I still wouldn't do cats.
Not with your allergies.
And actually, if I went back into grooming today, I wouldn't groom anything bigger than a schnauzer.
Yeah.
I'd
And
be I'd be one of those divas like, no, too big for me, not interested. Because and I think when you get to a point, and I tell students this, you don't have to groom everything that is requested for you to groom. If a
mm,
person calls up with a Great Pyrenees and you're a small person or a person with a big back, I would suggest to you not to groom that dog. You don't have to.
that's it. And I think this is again, this is quite a bit of work that we do with groomers around boundaries, and especially with brand new groomers that are coming into the industry. And my questions are always like, okay, so how are you going to do it? So like premises, mobile, etc. What days do you want to work? And that's really important. What days do you want to work? Because everyone ends up working a Saturday and they hate it. Or most people like, oh, I wish I'd never started on a Saturday. And then it's like, if you're going to be a lone groomer, how big do you want to go? And
Yeah,
you said it's
yeah,
okay. It's okay to say, no, sorry, I don't do anything above a Labrador or above a Schnauzer or
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. You know, I always tell people, and I ask people in my seminars, first of all, who's a mobile groomer? And I got a few mobile groomers. I am amazed how many mobile groomers do not charge a service charge. So when
Mm,
I worked for Wagon Tails in Michigan, this was back in the 90s, we would charge $15 to drive to your house, no matter if it was half a mile down the road or 2 miles down the road or 10 miles. We would charge $35 for the first hour and then $5 for every 15 minutes after. The amount of groomers who tell me it's all in the same price. I'm like, hold on 1 second. If you got into a taxi cab in London and drove 200 yards down the road, the meter when you sit down in that taxi would be £2.80. That was back in the day when I got into a taxi, so it's probably more now.
Yeah.
So, and I said, your money for tires, MOTs, servicing should not be coming out of your grooming money. It should be coming out of your service fee money, and anything that is a convenience where somebody hasn't got to leave the house. They do understand and know, but there probably will be a service charge and probably are surprised when you say, no, there isn't.
Yeah, it's a niche service, and I was going to use the analogy of like booking a taxi and finding out
Yeah.
what a taxi would charge. I mean, I've got one mobile client whose van's in the garage at the moment because the engine's gone, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, save up for this kind of stuff that's going to happen, but you're going to have to
Well,
these
well,
costs.
that's just it. I mean, living in Michigan, we have some severe weather.
Mm,
So when and Dina Perry, who owned the company, she said that service fee money goes into pulling you guys out of ditches and tires and all that kind of stuff. It's in there for a reason, and also for maintenance on an engine. If you, I mean, let's face it, if you have a car or any car, van, mobile van, or personal vehicle, if you get that engine serviced as it should be serviced, it will last you for years. If you don't, it's going to not last you at all. So, I mean, that's unfortunate, but, it's exactly the same with people. I think people who are trying to conjure up business try and think of anything. Like one woman put on Facebook the other day, I'm thinking about doing collection delivery. What do you think? And I'm like, I would
no,
not entertain it at all.
no.
Because as soon as I said, first of all, you have to have the right insurance, you have to have the right vehicle, and you have to have them dogs in individual containers in
Mm.
your vehicle. And I said, it is an absolute pain. And I said, and you got to get up earlier to go to work to pick them all up. You've got to then do exactly the same thing. And you don't want to have dogs there all day long. And you don't want to leave halfway through the day to
Yeah.
take them dogs home.
It's that efficiency, isn't it? You're in a
Yeah.
place, people can come to you. It makes you more efficient. Efficiency leads to,
Yeah.
profits and more money. And it's a funny industry, isn't it? Because I don't think, right, I'm a bit tatty around the sides. I need a haircut. I need a beard trim. I don't phone the hairdresser up and say, "Can you come and pick me up?" It's like,
Exactly.
why,
Exactly.
why does the grooming industry think, I don't know, that we kind of put restrictions around at the industry in a way?
It was a big thing back in the day
Mm,
because I remember back in the 80s, I used to go to grooming school and I'd say, "Where's Jill or Andrea?" And they're like, "Oh, she's out picking up dogs." But they would have a purposely built vehicle, a white van, and it would have crates in the back. But you know what? Was it worth it for the amount of money? I think they were charging like £2.50 for. I'm like, ain't worth it. And
no.
also, I'm sure you got friends what that can take the dog in for you.
Yeah, and I think we've all done it. We certainly did it when we started our business. You kind of like set up and you start, well, I suppose it's how can I make our business more attractive to people? Well, we'll go and get their
Yeah,
pets. We'll make it
yeah,
easier for them. But
absolutely,
we don't,
absolutely.
I suppose what we don't do is we think about all of that and how we can make things easier, but we don't actually think about the cost or the money behind it, I suppose. And that's what's missing quite a lot.
And also, there's the problem of there's no guarantee you can park outside their house.
Mm.
There's no guarantee they're going to have a driveway. It can be, it's such a, to me, there's so many red flags when you have dogs breeds like rough collies or poms or don't have necks. So you put a lead on them, they slip it. Next
Mm.
minute, you're running down the street 100 miles an hour trying to rugby tackle a dog. And so to me, it's like, no, no, it's not worth it. I want them to bring the dog to me. And I think groomers have got to realize, because they panic, don't they? They're like, oh my God, I got this business. How do I get dogs in? And they would do anything to get a dog groomed, even if it means working on a Sunday. And I get it because I've been there. And then I'm like, you know what? I need to have a life.
Mm.
Because the minute you start breaking down what you normally do, and you say, okay, I'll do it this time, they're going to expect it every single time.
That's it. That's it. Barriers are, something that, again, I suppose it isn't taught in grooming school. Like, the building the business and setting your barriers and boundaries, sorry, not barriers, setting your boundaries, what you
Hmm.
will and won't do. And I said to someone at your conference, actually, he was chatting to me and he said, "Oh, I messaged my clients at like 9 o'clock at night. My boundaries are pretty horrific." And I'm like, "But you're enabling them. You're enabling your customers
Yeah.
to message you at 9 o'clock at night because you're replying to them and you're not. It's that people pleasing element from us. Have you found yourself over the years like being in that position?"
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I talk to people about belly straps at 10:30 at night, and I'm like, Coleman's looking at me like, "What are you doing? We're trying to watch a movie here." And yeah, so now I'm like, you know what? We can talk about it tomorrow. But it's one of them things with Facebook. You open yourself up to you, and I'm very much like this. If I open up a message by mistake, I have to reply to it, but otherwise it's going to get lost.
Yeah.
So I kind of, and I am, the one thing people can say is when they message me, my phone's like connected to my hand, so I'll always message them back. But you do have to kind of say, you know what, I have to kind of, you know, distance myself a little bit more because believe me, I tell groomers this all the time. Do not allow yourself to become married to this industry because you know what, you do have a personal life, you do have children, you do have a husband, you do have a wife, you do have a holiday you should be wanting to go on. And I think sometimes people and I always also the number one thing I tell people is the clients are not your friends
Mm.
because they just if a client is not happy or you can't get them in or whatever it may be, you charge them and whatever they go somewhere else.
That's it. That's it. And yeah, and something that we try and focus on, or the questions I ask groomers is like, who are you running that business for? Are you running a business for yourself, for your clients, or for your staff, sort of thing?
Yeah,
And so often they're like, "You're right, Bill. I do everything for my clients, but I don't actually get anything like for myself. Don't get anything back
yeah,
for myself." And
yeah,
it's really sad because running a business is such hard work. It feels like it should be easier in this day and age. We're all connected and systems and social media and stuff, but I feel as though it's made it even harder at times because we're always switched on, aren't we? We're always like
yeah.
on, you know.
And also I think we get hooked onto these stupid phrases like, "Oh, grooming dogs, it's not like going to work." Hell, yeah, it is. I mean, and I think when people say things like that, or, "Oh, you know what? It's I can't charge her this much money for this dog and all this kind of stuff." We have to. We and I say this because I was that person also.
Mm,
You think with your heart, and then you realize holy shit, I've got to pay bills. I've got to make money. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And if you want to treat it as a hobby, then the problem is you're never going to make money from it.
no. And I was
And I don't know. It's just it's a tough one. But and I think through the years of doing it, you become harder and harder and harder.
Yeah, but you don't want to get too hard because then you really
Yeah,
start to lose the joy. You start to resent the customers and resent the dog. So it's a fine
absolutely.
it's a fine balance. And I was thinking this morning. I was thinking about some messaging to put out there because I do get some pushback from people saying, "Well, Bill, you're all about the money, and it's not about the money; it's about the dogs." But I was thinking, my pushback to that is actually running a business is hard, and Nationwide won't take dog hair as my mortgage payment.
No.
That's the bare facts about it, isn't it? I can't pay my staff in dog hair, can't pay my mortgage in dog hair. Money, unfortunately, no matter what you think about it, be it evil or be it nice or be it good or be it bad, you're running a business. It is about the money. And
Yeah, I mean, unless you are a multi-millionaire and you are doing it for free just because you absolutely love it, that's fine. But
mm,
if you are not a multi-millionaire, and I always tell groomers this, and it sounds terrible, but this is what I say. I always assume, but I'm a single person. If you ever determine how much money you want to make because your spouse brings in the majority of the money or whatever like that, that may be fine. But what happens if that one day stops?
yeah. Yeah.
And you have to make sure that you can make it on your own, and that's really really important to me, to tell people, what, that, believe me, I love the dogs, and if I went back into grooming, I would groom. If I went back into grooming today, I would groom 4 dogs a day, and I would charge probably $65, £65 a dog, and that's fine. If I can make 200 and some quid a day, 5 days a week, that's fine. But I'm not going to groom 6 dogs a day at 40 quid.
Yeah, that's it. And I do an exercise on some of my workshops where we discuss, we talk about money a lot, and we discuss like why is it there's an exercise that I do, it's like why is it better to charge more money for the dog? And people go away and they have a
Mm-hmm.
discussion why it's better for the dog to charge more money, why it's better for the owner to charge more money, why it's better for the business, and why it's better for the owner. And believe me, the lists, the positives we get from it versus the cons are so much
Yeah.
bigger, you know.
Well, you have to look at it like this. If I'm grooming 4 dogs a day and I'm charging more money, it means my window of grooming that one dog is bigger
Yeah.
because I got less. I haven't got a rush. It means I can actually give clients customer service and talk to them,
Hmm.
and that is so important. I see so many groomers rush up front, spend, I don't know, 30 seconds and bring the dog back, and I'm like, okay, you know what, you want to be able to like sit and have a little, I'm not saying chit chat about what they're going to do for the weekend, but have some kind of conversation. And so that client always leaves knowing, my God, that groomer really loves Fluffy,
That's it. That's it.
and not being in a hurry. And believe me, being in a hurry, um, that's horrible because you won't end up liking your job.
Mm. Yeah, and I think I said at the conference, didn't I? I said I think, I believe that groomers get into the industry and they have the values of wanting to look after the pets, and you know they they really want to care for the pets, but then they get into this trap where they need to earn more money, and then they just add more and more grooms or more and more dogs to their day to earn the money because they're too concerned or worried or scared about putting their prices up.
Yeah,
And
well,
then that's burnout. You sort of you're going towards burnout then because it's
yeah.
trampling all over your values.
Well, I think if you've got to like take everything away and not know anything about dog grooming, and then looked into the word dog grooming, and you see all these little parlors, you will think, "Oh, isn't that cute? That's really sweet. That looks like so much fun." And I'm thinking, that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go be a dog groomer. That looks like a doddle." Hell no, it wasn't a doddle. It was hard work, messy, dirty,
Mm,
wet, hard work. And I think people, when they realize that, because I always say to people, when you look at grooming, it is 80% handling and 20% the haircut. If you have a hard time handling and being firm but kind, you'll have a hard time grooming dogs.
that's it.
So it's now, find it. There's so many boundaries you have to look for. And, it's like when people say to me, am I too old to learn how to groom dogs? I'm like, no, you're not too old. But if you were to become a groomer, I would strongly suggest you hire in a young person to wash and dry your dogs,
Yeah,
because that
it's
right
the
there,
hard.
that's the hard work.
Yeah, and I do love this about the industry, the fact that they've got the apprenticeship schemes and they've got purpose-built apprenticeships for dog grooming. And I do feel like other parts of the country that perhaps don't have access to that do miss out on those sort of schemes, and obviously
Yeah,
other parts of the world. But the apprenticeship scheme for us has just been fantastic throughout the years. We took our first apprentice on 22 years ago, and I think she stayed with us for 7 years and then went off to become a manager at Pets at Home. But we've
that's
always
great.
we've always had apprentices come through our business to
Yeah.
and taught them how to groom and stuff. So it's an amazing sort of path for people to go down.
No, awesome. No, and I think we have to give them a chance, and just try to, because I mean, a lot of people also, you got to look at the people that do come into the industry, once again including myself, and I look at a lot of people who, that's why we fluff around with we self-doubt, we do this, we do that, we always worry, our anxiety levels are terrible. And I think, when it comes to learning or being an apprentice, I always try to think about me back in the day when I was a young person and who had the worst stutter, who used to hide behind my mum, would never ever, I never ever, if you would ask me at 15, would you think you could stand in front of 300 people? I'd be, oh, no, no. I have a hard enough time standing in front of 2 people. But that's what America did to me. America did really help me become the person I become. But yeah, I think we just have to, just um, be a little bit kinder to ourselves and not beat ourselves up when it comes to things, and always we have to stop being so negative about what we do. Look
Mm.
at the positives in what we've done and not always the negatives.
I was thinking, how can we, we've got obviously conference, you've got your conference coming up in 2026, and we'll perhaps talk about what you're offering and any changes that you're making, but how can we break down those barriers for people that maybe they want to go, but they just don't have that confidence, or maybe they feel a bit of that imposter syndrome, like I'm not good enough to be there, or I don't belong there, sort of thing. Is there
Well,
anything, you have any thoughts about this, how we could break down these
well,
barriers?
yeah. So I mean, so in Hershey, I think it's absolutely cheesiest thing in the world, but I think it's incredible. So they have it's not a conga line, but imagine a conga line without the da 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 da. It's somebody who actually walks around with the newbies and takes them around and introduces them and brings them together as a group. So, when people say to me, "Oh, I'm nervous about coming," like there was a lady, actually, this lady, she gave me and Mel this card. Can you see
Thank,
it?
a thank you card, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it was so lovely, and I brought it home and I put it up, and I messaged her and I said, I just want to say how thank you for that. It means a lot. And she says, I'm going to come next year, but I'm probably only going to come and go back and forth from home because I'm by myself and I get a little bit of anxiety. And I said to her, you know what, you should. I said to her, you should have said something. But then I'm thinking, of course she's not going to say nothing because she has anxiety. And I said to her, just know, but if you come next year and stay at the hotel, you can sit with us, you can hang out with us, and I will introduce you to some people. So, with that said, um, next year we obviously have the main hall, which seats 200 people, and then we have 11 classrooms. So, I'm going to make one classroom meditation slash prayer slash whatever they want to go in there, but the classroom is totally silent. Mood lighting maybe on the walls, maybe some sound music in the background, but it's a space where you can go to relax and close your eyes. Because I think sometimes with me, I get overwhelmed, and sometimes I'm like, my God, if I could just close my eyes for 5 minutes, I'd feel so much better. Then we have the classroom, which I want it to be for, for people as like a little meet and greet area, and have somebody in there, probably Jane Gallagher from America, because she's incredible when it comes to making people feel at ease and motivation. So she can get the people talking to each other. And then obviously the other classrooms where I want you guys involved as you doing what you do with business, the credit card people, the shake your tail people, and the insurance people. I want that to be in one room so people can go there and know exactly what they're going to be introduced to, and then have all you guys as a group work together. So it's not just you sitting there and talking to people while the other guys don't. It's kind of like um, a
It's kind of
package,
hybrid.
like a
Yeah.
package kind of thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then obviously there'll be the other rooms, which are specialized rooms for Asian grooming and stuff. So, I want, and also when it comes back to people thinking they're not good enough, I have people in the audience who have been grooming for 2 months to 20 years. I got people that haven't even gone to grooming school yet that have come to just see if they like it. But I have to say, I understand where they're coming from, because I've been in situations where I've got in my car and had to turn around because my anxiety is really bad.
Mm.
And people are like, are you sure? And I'm like, absolutely. And I used to laugh at my friend in America because she was like that. I'm like, oh, come on, get over it. And I would never ever say that to anybody anymore,
Yeah.
because you can develop anxiety at any age in your life. And I think people have to realize you're not out of the woods just because you don't have it. you know.
I remember, I remember the day before the conference, and this is just like saying we all suffer with this on some scale or another. I remember the day before the conference was coming, and it took me back actually. It took me to those feelings of being at school. When you're at school, you're on your own, and you're walking into a classroom, and you're like, oh, who am I going to sit with? Who am I going to have lunch with? Who am I going to have dinner with? And I was like, wow, this is really taking me back to my sort of secondary school age,
Uh-huh.
going to the conference, and then I walked through the door, and obviously there's familiar faces like yourself and others there, and then I saw Adam there from Geared for Grooming, and I was just like, oh my God, I know all these people, and all that anxiety and fear and worry and stress just dissipates because you're full of like friendly faces and people saying hello
Yeah.
and stuff. But the build up, the anticipation and the worry and the flashbacks to school and stuff like that are still there, aren't they? But
No, it's true. I think
school's got a lot to answer for.
well, it does, and I think about my school, and I lived. My parents' house was like 2 minute walk from school, so I used to walk out of class often.
Yeah.
I don't have a high school I didn't graduate per se. I got A level in art. Everything else, I think I flunked. To be honest, my report card said the same thing all the time. Colin tries hard.
Yeah, could do better.
And back then, you know what, I did extra English and extra math. I was your typical thick kid who just sat in extra classes to get extra, to get extra lessons. So, and I'm not ashamed of saying it. I don't care. Because nowadays people have their kids tested for problems. Back in our day, no, we didn't. We were just stupid and thick.
Yeah,
Which but I do giggle because it's like, hey, it is what it is. But I'm not regretting it because I've done so much in my life. And I was talking to my friend the other day about math. I said, you know what, as long as I can add, subtract, and shares and that kind of stuff, that's all I need.
that's it. That's it. But the reality of how you're feeling at the time is always probably worse than what actually when you walk through those doors,
Yeah,
you see a familiar face or see your face to start with, and then that fear and worry starts to dissipate.
yeah.
It's so much. It's just, I suppose, it's making sure that we try and push past that to.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and realize also that you are not the only person who
Mm,
has them issues. A million other people do, and we all just need to come together and kind of help each other out with that. And it's okay, once again, to be vocal about it. It's okay to say, you know what, this is my issue, just to warn you. Because I mean, Coleman knows. Like with me, he understands when I'm having an off day, and I tell him so that way he knows I'm not in a bad mood. I'm not ignoring him. I'm not bad. I'm just having a wobble.
yeah, yeah. I wanted
Yeah.
to just ask you a quick question actually about crufts next year and how interesting that's going to be. So they're putting out information, aren't they, saying that they're going to introduce, is it a dog grooming competition or just a styling sort of section when it comes to crufts? What's
I
the
think
detail?
as far as I know, I don't know a lot, but I think it's a great thing. I think they're going to have grooming every single day in a competition. I don't know what capacity, but I know that they want to award the groomer in like in a big way, like they like on TV, like on a Sunday
Wow.
when they do the best in show at clubs. I think they're going to do it something where the people are awarded in that capacity, not where they film the grooming competition at that on the Sunday, but the actual award.
Mm,
So which I think is a really good thing. I think with when it comes to grooming being highlighted, on a level like that, I think it's a very positive thing. Yes, you're going to get pushbacks, and yes, you're going to get people that say this and that and that. And I tell people all the time, do not criticize it until it's happened. And
mm,
even when it's happened, you don't have to criticize it. You can give constructive criticism, but it's always going to be a positive. Okay. And yes, there'll be little negatives. Yes, there'll be people that watch it who say that dog shouldn't be on the table and that dog shouldn't be this and that person shouldn't be doing that. But you know what? It is part of what we do for a
Mm.
living. And we just have to make sure we once again make sure that the dog's welfare is always considered, and it'll be absolutely fine. And I know Crufts is really, really strict when it comes down to animal welfare, and so I know they're not going to make it so, well, they can only do what they can do, but they're not going to make dogs be what am I trying to say here? That,
Stressed? You stressed?
yes, absolutely. Thank you. They're going to make sure that dogs aren't, looked at in a stressful way.
I think what I like about it is I feel like the pet industry is a bit fragmented, and there's lots of different. You've got the showing, you've got the vets, you've got the groomers, and the dog trainers, and there doesn't always feel like there's a real connection where we're all kind of like pulling in the same direction. A bit like what you said about that business room with me
Yeah,
and card machine and insurance. It all goes
yeah,
together, doesn't it? But I think this is going to be quite nice where crafts will start to, maybe this is the start of like the pet industry starting to join up a bit. Crafts brings everyone together anyway, but in the halls, but actually sort of recognizing grooming and like you said, getting it on the telly, showing people that it is connected to,
yeah.
the dogs that are there need haircuts, a lot of them
Well, well, I,
that are
well, I
being
mean,
shown.
I mean, every single dog that goes there has had a wash or a haircut or something. So,
Yeah.
so grooming is a huge part of the actual procedure of presenting a dog to the judge. So it just comes down to, once again, to make people aware of, and guess what? There's competition in this. The amount of people that do not know, do not have a clue, but there's a Groom Team England. They haven't got a clue.
Mm.
Okay. And the one thing I like about Groom Team USA is it's really, really put out there for everybody to know that Groom Team USA is going to compete for the Worlds. So, I think it's important that we really do emphasize, but we do have a team in UK or England, who they are, what they do, and how hard they've worked to get there. And I think Crufts will play a big part in that too, to highlight the hard work that goes into it and the people that do it.
Yeah, and start to join things up. I remember us talking to vet and dog groomer Sophie Bell, and I was sort of saying, well, this would be a good idea if vets had to do like a week's work placement whilst they're training in a groomers. Because again, I think there's that disconnect there where they don't quite understand
Yeah,
what groomers do and how they can
yeah.
how the industries can help each other. There's crossover there.
Yeah, well, I remember working for a vet in Lansing, Michigan. It was it was right next to the airport, actually, and and he had this grooming room, and he said the turnover for groomers was just incredible, because groomers would come to work, then one day they wouldn't come to work, and then you have to find another groomer, and there has been a very there's been a disconnect, I think, between respect of the two professions. I mean, I respect vets. So they go to college, they do it for years. They're incredible. They have a really real sucky job sometimes, depressive. They got one of the biggest suicide rates in any professions vets do.
Mm.
And I think when it comes to groomers and vets, I would love to see also a vet and grooming convention, because these two merge together, more than what we know.
Sort of break down the barriers, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And understand, but we're both professions, and I think groomers have to understand, but we're not vets, we shouldn't be diagnosing problems. I
Mm.
do see on Facebook many people putting pictures on Facebook saying, what is this? And people really shouldn't be. I mean, the only answer you should be saying is, I would recommend going to a vet.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Mhm.
that's always the fallback position. But it'd be really nice, wouldn't it, to start breaking down some of those barriers with the profession.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So 2026 is, swinging past really quickly. It's coming upon us. What are you looking forward to in 2026, and what will you be getting up to?
Well, I said I'd be slowing down, but I guess I'm not. I'm going. So it starts off with the grooming show, then it goes to Ireland, and then it goes to Crufts, and then I go to Seattle to the Northwest show, and then I go to Canada for the Canada show, and then I come back and I do all the shows here, obviously Master Groom, And then I go to I'm in America probably about I think like 6 or 7 times next year, and but hey, I will never complain because as long as I can walk and talk and get on a plane, I'm going to do it.
Mm.
Okay, or be willed to it. I don't know. Sometimes
Scooter.
sometimes I'm looking at the immigration line and I'm thinking, if I was only in a wheelchair, I would get through this line so much faster. So yeah, so I mean, I look forward to to do. I love doing what I do. I love going to shows. Like I said, even if I make 12 quid, it gets me out the house. Coleman's probably saying, "Thank God he's gone for a couple of hours," and so it's all good, And but we're traveling a lot next year. One thing I want to do. I want to go to India because I do some training in India. I talk to students every Tuesday and Thursdays who go to a grooming school there, and I do like an online um, tuition and talk to them, and all that kind of stuff. So I'd love to go to India, and I want to do my Alaska cruise. That's what I want to do.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. It is a busy, one thing I do love about the industry is it loves to get out and about and it loves to
yeah.
shows and I think next year is a busy lineup for shows.
Oh God, yeah. And obviously we have the Worlds next year, which is in Romania. So all the teams will be going to go to compete, and we will see which country does really, really well. Canada did really good last year, so they have a really cool team. England's got a great team also. USA's got an amazing team. But I always say to them, you may be amazing, but remember, but everybody else is amazing too.
Mm.
So you've got to push yourself all the time to be better. So you always got to be better. Always got to try and do that. So next year will be fun. And then the lineup for the conference is incredible with the speakers. So it's gonna be a really good year.
Yeah, brilliant. Looking forward to it. Well, thank you so much for your time and joining
You're
us on the
welcome.
podcast. And I'll probably see you at the next show. I don't know when that will be. Are you?
I'm going to Groomforia next.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll
You'll
see
be
you.
there, so I'll see you in Groomforia. And yeah, we do have just to let everybody know we got Black Friday specials up already because as we all know, the world is way ahead of everything. So Black Fridays are on colintaylorproducts.com. And yeah, happy days.
Excellent. Thanks for your time, Colin. I'll see you
Thank you,
soon.
sir.
Take care.
Have a good day. Bye.